Hi guys and welcome back to Cinema Wrap Up. Today I'm going to explain a horror, drama, TV series called The Dream Door. Spoilers ahead, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Jill and her husband Tom were recently married, and have moved into their first home together. That was a wedding present gifted to them by Tom's parents. Jill is thrilled to receive the house, stating that you can't do much better gifting a house as a wedding present. As they move in to kiss each other, they suddenly hear a very loud noise coming from the basement. In the basement, Tom hears another loud banging noise, and he walks over to see a mysterious black puppy emerge from out of the storage closet. The dog immediately takes off and runs up the stairs, with Tom and Jill in pursuit as they ask each other where the dog came from. The following day, as Tom and Jill begin the renovation for their new home, Jill pets the mysterious black dog and tells Tom, when she was a little girl she had a toy stuffed animal that oddly looked exactly like the dog. Following that, Tom and his best friend Jason go to tearing down a wall in the home to create more space. Later that night, Jason and his wife Vanessa stay for dinner at Tom and Jill's house. Vanessa asks Tom, is it weird living in the same house he grew up in? Tom tells her yes. He then tells them how he found Jill's old trunk in the basement from when she was a kid. Tom then tells them when Jill was a little girl, she would draw an eerie contortionist clown named Pretzel Jack. When Jill was just a young girl, she went to the circus and seen a contortionist, which inspired her to create a contortionist clown she called Pretzel Jack. The following day, while shopping for new supplies in the hardware store, Jill catches Tom arguing with a woman named Sarah, who he previously cheated on her with in the past. And before Tom realizes Jill is watching, she goes ahead and ducks back into the aisle. Later that night, Jill seems to be very disturbed in her sleep. The lamplight starts to flicker on and off, seeming to be caused by Jill's bad dream. The following day, Tom calls Jill to the basement. He stops her before she can take a few steps, and before he allows her to come downstairs, he asks her to describe the far wall of the basement. Jill replies it's just a wall and nothing else. However, when Jill and Tom go into the basement, a strange blue door has now appeared on the wall that wasn't there before. Tom tries to open the door, but it's locked, and there's no air coming through the door, nor is there a keyhole. Tom then texts Jason for extra manpower to help him open the mysterious door. A short time later, Jason arrives, and he tries with all his might to open the door, but unfortunately he fails also and he can't get it open. Determined to get the door opened, Jason suddenly gets an idea. He goes to his truck and comes back with a sledgehammer and smashes away at the door, but this doesn't work either. Jason goes back to his truck, and he grabs a bag from the back seat, and while Tom struggles to open the door with a crowbar, Jason removes a shotgun from the bag and quickly cocks it, ready to find out what's behind the door. Jason tells Tom and Jill to move by the stairs and cover their ears. He begins to unload round after round from the shotgun, as the lights begin to flicker as each bullet collides with the door. Tom and Jill grab flashlights, and Jill slowly approaches the door. She grabs the broken doorknob and pulls it from out of the hole. Jill opens the entranceway, and what lies on the other side is a narrow dark staircase that leads deeper down into the basement. The three of them come to find a second locked door, with a painted handprint placed in the center. Jason tells them to go back upstairs as he cocks his shotgun, but Jill quickly tells him he's not firing his gun again. Instead, Jill wants to take her own approach in opening this second door. She calls a locksmith, but he is unable to open the door. She then lets Jason try again, but when they come down the stairs, they see he has failed also. Finally, Jason tries to use a saw cutter to cut off the doorknob, however this too does not work. All out of ideas, Tom and Jason give up on trying to open the door. Before Jill leaves herself, she moves in close trying to see if she can hear something. She knocks a few times, and when she leaves, something on the other side can be heard knocking back. Following that, as Jill returns home, as she pulls in the driveway, Tom can be seen leaving the home. He tells Jill he has to stop by Jason's real quick, and he'll be back shortly. However, Jill doesn't believe him and suspects he's lying to her, so she gets in her car and follows him. As Jill sits parked in front of the home, she's infuriated to see that Tom has lied to her, and he has actually gone to see Sarah, the woman he's been cheating on her with. After returning home, Jill pours herself a drink and she suddenly hears a loud noise coming from the basement. She grabs a flashlight and goes downstairs to check it out. Jill places her hand on the hand-painted symbol and her flashlight immediately starts to flicker. Jill hears the door unlock, and she opens the door, which leads into a big dark room. Her flashlight suddenly goes out, and with a few taps it turns back on. She scans the room with the flashlight, and Jill seems to lose her breath as she is stricken with fear, when she sees her childhood character Pretzel Jack, standing face front in the corner. Pretzel Jack suddenly turns around and charges towards Jill, but instead of attacking her, Pretzel Jack escapes and runs up the stairs. The following day, after Jill gets off the phone with Tom, She gets a flashback to the day she saw him arguing with Sarah in the store. This angers Jill and she finds Sarah's number and proceeds to call her about Tom. When Sarah answers the phone, Jill addresses herself as Tom's wife. Sarah tells Jill to tell Tom to stay away from her, or she'll be forced to get a restraining order against him. When Tom arrives home, Jill confronts him about cheating with Sarah, claiming that he's called her 5 times in the past 3 days. However, Tom denies cheating with Sarah, and he claims that when him and Jill first started dating, she would always accuse him of dealing with other women when he really wasn't. Tom tells her that since they moved back in the town they grew up in, her anxiety is getting to her, which is causing her to believe he's cheating with Sarah. Infuriated by this, Tom walks out and leaves, and suddenly Pretzel Jack appears stepping out from behind the patio. Not long after, Tom pulls into Sarah's driveway. He knocks, and Sarah comes to the door, despite her telling Jill that she would get a restraining order against Tom if he wouldn't stop contacting her. She lets Tom in with no problem, and he's also been by Sarah's house 2 nights in a row. Following that, Jill goes to Jason's house to talk to him about Tom. She asks Jason is Tom cheating on her, and he tells her no. She then asks him who's Sarah, and before Jason can answer her, they both hear a noise coming from the kitchen. Jason goes to see what caused the noise, and the conversation moves to the kitchen. He then tells Jill that she can't blame and accuse Tom for cheating on something her father did 20 years ago. This enrages Jill, and she tells Jason to not gaslight her as the lights begin to flicker. And at this very moment, Pretzel Jack can be seen grabbing a screwdriver from off the table. The argument between the two quickly escalates, and he tells her that it was Tom's bad luck for even falling in love with her, and maybe what she needs is someone just as messed up as her. Infuriated, Jill tells Jason she doesn't know if he's protecting Tom or going behind his back, but she feels like he's doing exactly what Tom does to her, and that's doubt herself, and she yells she's sick of it. Tom calls Jill crazy after her rant, and suddenly Pretzel Jack can be seen slowly rising up in the doorway in between them. Pretzel Jack steps out of the doorway, and begins to viciously stab Jason repeatedly. Pretzel Jack throws Jason to the floor, and stabs him repeatedly in the face, and the brutal killing only stops when Jill screams to Pretzel Jack telling him to stop. Pretzel Jack stops stabbing Jason, and he slowly rises to his feet, raises his arms and does a backflip. Pretzel Jack then does a contortionist trick called bone breaking, seeming to be trying to put a smile on Jill's face. He then immediately walks off to the side door, leaving Jill standing there terrified that her childhood imaginary character Pretzel Jack has now come to life, and she has witnessed him brutally murder Jason right in front of her eyes, and the video ends here. To watch more recaps of these kinds of movies, click on the thumbnail on your screen and don't forget to leave a comment down below. Kindly like the video and subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. And until next time, stay safe and take care.